Welcome. Thank you for being here. We already did this part, right? How many of you have seen Forrest Gump? I actually chatted with somebody who said they'd never seen Forrest Gump. That is actually one of my biggest secrets of success, is going up and saying hello to people. Odd how you can meet fascinating people. Why I love coming to RSA. You meet fascinating people. So we still have another couple of minutes. People are still wandering in. Turn around, meet someone else new, and say hi. And maybe if you want to exchange information, you can. You know everybody, so if you're not talking to somebody, that means you know everybody in here. Awesome. How does that feel? Do you feel more energized doing that? You feel more friendly? Did anyone meet someone who didn't smile at least a little bit? Yeah. So for those who walked in, I'm challenging you through this session. This is not just your typical RSA where I'm going to throw a whole bunch of PowerPoints at you. I may not even get through all of my slides. You have them, you can read them. Feel free, you can reach out and talk with me after we're done offline. So let me ask you, let's see. What's the biggest problem in security? People. Why people? I'm a people. You're saying I'm a problem? Some of those people. Okay. Yes. So designing challenges. I was just having this conversation at lunch regarding architecture. So many of our systems are like Frankenstein's, right? Where they just built on different rooms at a time, not thinking about the plumbing, heating, electricity, and then they wonder why things don't fit together. The premise for my talk this afternoon, though, is that it's fear. Fear of not knowing what can go wrong. Fear of being wrong. Fear of someone not understanding what we're saying. If you don't agree, that is perfectly cool. I never said you have to agree with the speaker. And in fact, I challenge you during RSA to disagree with the speakers. I'm going to throw the rest of my speakers under the bus here. That's perfectly fine. I think that makes for a lot more interesting sessions if you actively can have a debate, because it's the actual going through the debate that gets people thinking. So what distinguishes a good security program from a great one? And someone already said it. So if people's the biggest problem, what do you think our solution is? Bingo. This is actually a slide from my talk back in 2007 at RSA on how to be a people person. A little bit of a humble brag there, but it's just, we still encounter the same challenges. We live in cybersecurity Groundhog Day. A friend of ours made me say that, by the way. Reliving. Anyone reliving the same day over and over again, where it's getting back to the basics, fundamental? We miss that. So why are you here? Why are you here in this session right now? Figure out how not to get stuck in Groundhog Day. Okay. Other thoughts? Because we heard you're kind of weird, Ron, and you'll entertain me. So, cool titles, yes. I forgot to mention my last. I learned if you add some weird words or add the word hacking in your title, it's easier to get it accepted at conferences. So, you need to influence people to influence change. Influence is something some of us are born with, but it's really something we need to build over time. It's probably one of the hardest parts. You read different studies, you will find the human element is often the cause. We'll go into that. How about this? It isn't that we don't know what to do, aren't doing what we know. How many sessions do you see here, and I'm challenging again some of my fellow presenters, where they say what you need to do, but they never define how? I've been in a session, you need to speak the business. What does that mean? Anyone here with a business degree? So bunch. So good, you can help me speak the business, thank you. I don't. I'm a computer scientist by degree. I kind of fell in cybersecurity. What I'm trying to do is just give you food for thought through this session. The typical disclaimer slide, don't use anything I say against any of my employers, blah, 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 blah. This is who I am. If you trust QR codes, go ahead and scan it. If not, look me up on LinkedIn. This isn't about me. I am a military veteran. If you're a military veteran, make sure we connect, because I'm all about building the career field by helping fellow veterans. So that is and that's completely nonprofit. The term influence I came up with a number of years ago, thinking about more manipulation with social engineering. I kind of fell into how to be a social engineer just because it's rather fascinating, right? Because it's something you can practice without really anything. You already have started practicing it by turning and saying hi to somebody else. Next step, observe. Watch their behavior to see how you can use that to connect, build rapport. On the how to connect with the business, start by building rapport. We'll talk about what that means. So on the counter side is influence, and this was a quote from 1996. Who here has read Practical Internet and Unix Security? It's part of the cybersecurity canon. If you're not familiar with the cybersecurity canon, 1N, again, nonprofit, it's the Cybersecurity Book Hall of Fame. You can learn more about it at the bookstore. I've been a part of it. We do book reviews and try to help with determining what are good things to read. But anyone live this where you have responsibility for security, but you have no authority, so you're just there to take the blame? Or the security figurehead syndrome? Number of hands go up. Blowing my mind, 25 years later, we're still living this. I've lived this in a position. I've left a position where I realized that I was there when they were going to get breached, so they would have somebody to fire. I'm like, no, I didn't want to be in that position. This is why influence is so important, so we can build our authority. This is just a quick differentiation between influence and influence. One is the coercion, trying to get people to do things against their best interest, getting you to give away your information to get free swag. So when you go out on the floor, showroom floor, watch for social engineering. Good salespeople are really good at social engineering. So influence, more neutral, based on logic. It's a way of helping people reach their destination, coaching, if you will. Influence, can I take advantage of a weakness? It could be causing a distraction. One of my favorite hacking movies is Sneakers. And you watch how do you get through a security person? You just wait till they're overwhelmed. The human buffer overflow. I could have had you all try to enter the room at once, and the people trying to scan the badges. And I would have just planted one person in here whose badge would not scan. Really easy to do, by the way. You just take your badge, I took mine off, but it has the QR code, you just add a little black dot to it, and your badge will never scan. Don't do that on the showroom floor. Okay, or maybe do it. And be like, oh, sure, I'll take whatever. Can I scan you? Sure. I can't get it to where I know, right? Anyway. Some reason why I'm not always popular on the showroom floor. Anyway, but it gets into the emotion side of it, getting you to act now, or the authority. Do you know who I am? This is how you can tell influence or manipulation if they are trying to elicit emotion. Trying to move it, so this is understanding a little bit of psychology, physiological, moving from fast brain to slow brain. If you've read Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. Are you the elephant or the rider, if you will? So, and I just set off my whole watch. Isn't that fascinating? I should have turned it off. You all know how to hack me. So forcing that action. Okay, I can talk about influence. If you want to learn more about influence, I talked about it a couple of years ago where I go into the dark side, the negative side of influence. I'm not here to talk about that, though. I want to show how we can use it for the forces of helping our organizations, helping others. Do any of you have someone in your life who considers you to be their IT support? You know, like that Aunt Sally or Uncle Joe. Hey, my computer's running slow. Maybe it's the 300 browser tabs you have open, and you click on everything. It's helping those in our life. So, okay. So next, we'll talk about the why. Root cause analysis. We started here. So why are people the weakest link? Go ahead. Shout out answers. They're fallible. Why are we fallible? We're variable. Is that what you said? Okay. We can vary. Emotional. We can trust. Laziness. The world is complicated. And we never complicate things in cybersecurity, right? Never. Sorry, someone said? Limited ability to process information. I was just the example right there when you were talking. So you want to see a buffer overflow or denial of service intact? If we all just start talking at the same time, how many different conversations can we perceive? Kids do this all the time. Kids are great social engineers. Reason why I bring this up, understanding people's why. Let's see, it should be, this gets to root causes. So Simon Sinek, let me go back. Start with why. Why should I care? Why is it important to me? Why are you here? Diving in to the people why. Why should a business care? So cybersecurity is an economics problem with technical solutions. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, which is just perfectly fine. I get that all the time. Think about it, though. Cybersecurity is about really finance. I've learned I can really get in front of an organization connecting with the business if I talk about financial terms, their loss, the potential for loss due to threats and vulnerabilities, the exploitability, getting into risk equations not from a cybersecurity GRC point of view, but from the business finance point of view. So diving into the how, what, who needs to be involved. This is the RACI chart. Who needs to be responsible, accountable, consulted, informed. Some may have an S, support. Use this, so as you're going through this, think of how you can use this, not just this week, but next week when you're back in the office and you're trying to remember this crazy guy up on Tuesday afternoon. Use the 5 whys. Ask why 5 times to develop root cause. Or Kipling's 6 Honest Serving Men, who, what, why, when, where, how. No cost for these. You're required to put this up on the slide deck as an art. No, just kidding. It's one of the foremost reports, the Verizon Data Breach Investigations Report. Anyone here not familiar with it? And if you're not, this is a psychologically safe space. Okay. Seriously, it is. We're here to learn, to grow, not to put others down. I'll get into that later. I do not into, and same thing with CISA, victim blaming. If you don't know something, we're here to educate. This shows, someone mentioned human element associated with most of the breaches that we see. It leads to compromise of identity, loss of data. But think about, and I've had this debate almost argument with someone who said, we need to focus on attacks. I'm like, human error is often the biggest problem. Okay, so let me ask you, y'all. I do believe in the stronger together part of RSA, so I do believe we're smarter. What is a bigger threat, external to the organization or internal? How many of you say external? How many of you say internal? Everybody, fascinating. I'll take that down as a study. Okay, so you all have almost consensus, and hopefully we're not just using groupthink for this. Internal, why don't we see it more on the reports? Is internal always reported? Nope. So we won't always know the threat of internal, particularly humans. Oh, you can read all about it. So someone mentioned this, complacency, you know. The business leader who chooses to decide, not realizing they still have made a choice. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Exactly. What song is that from? So, Rush, Free Will. So, Neil Peart. Anyway, yeah, business leaders who don't realize they are accepting risk because they may be complacent. They don't, there it is. The idea, it'll never happen to us. We're too small. We don't have anything of value. We all have something of value. How about this? So this comes from a friend of mine, former student. When I explain basics, I have the habit of looking at basics as basic and lose the fact that my basic is complicated for others. Anyone resonate? Yeah. Geek speak? We use too many TLAs and don't explain what they are. Do y'all know what TLAs are? Three-letter acronyms. So FLA is a TLA. Spelling out your TLAs. So let me share a technique I use in public speaking. Anyone like Gabriel Iglesias, you know, fat and fluffy? Yeah, he's awesome. How does he speak Spanish? Well, he'll say a Spanish word and then he immediately translates it. And it's very seamless. So I encourage study comedians like him because he shows how we can speak in technology. We'll explain a term, we'll say SIM, Security Incident Event Management. We don't have to spend 10 minutes explaining what it is. You just explain what that term is. Or WAF, or Mac. You know, what Mac do I mean? Do I mean Macintosh or Media Access Control? So that way we don't get stuck in the tech speak, geek speak. Or this one. What's fascinating, so as a consultant, organizations will come up to me, or people, yeah, we suck at cybersecurity, or anyone here an auditor? You know, they're try to find things wrong with organizations, and basically it comes out as you suck. But how many of you, when you were in grade school or high school, said, I want to be whatever you do today? Nobody? Oh, a few. Thank you. Oh, another. Good. So, as you will see, it's great. It's a new emerging career field, but I'll often talk to IT people or just people in general, or I have a colleague who studied economics. Well, I don't know anything about security, and I talk with her, and she knows a ton about it. She didn't have, she was expecting me to put her down. So catching people doing things right, we're the office of no, we put the no in knowledge. How about just compliance? Often organizations get stuck just following the rules. Yeah, we're zero trust because we hit all 150 rules and controls or capabilities, activities of zero trust. If you don't know what that means, contact me after a whole other talk. We get stuck, though, in the compliance mindset when we really need to be moving to the risk mindset. Whole other talk, but how do we do it? Helping business leaders understand the financial ramifications of risk. So let's dive into how do we do this. I've given you a lot of thoughts, why we need to understand humans, influence, what we should do. Let's talk about hacking humans for positive. First thing, hack yourself. Actually, there's a booth, they give away stickers that says Hack Yourself that I thought was kind of cool. I forget which person it is. Pogo. What did Pogo write in 1972, Earth Day? Anyone know? Go ahead.
We did the 30s for Pogo. We met the enemy and he is us.
Yes. But it was actually 1972 Earth Day when the first that cartoon came out. So we've met the enemy and it is us. We can be, and how many organizations you are your own worst enemy? Comes back to sometimes those fundamentals. So why do we do security? Reason why I showed this is understanding root cause. Why? What is the driver? So influence is right in the middle. We know we need to do it. That's the mind. That's the compliance side of it. We feel we need to be secure. And then the telling with the heart. Anyone ever drive like 100 miles an hour down the freeway? Never. Of course not. Again, this is a safe space. Fully admit I have, as a teenager, why not? So, but what's that? Hypothetically, thank you, yes. Allegedly. Why do I bring this up? Well, using stories, using different examples like that. So my mind knew I was accepting a lot of risk driving that fast. That's something outside of my control. So it was a beautifully sunny day. If you drive in Nebraska, the roads are very straight, very easy to drive, so it's just easy, you could. And the risks were pretty low, but something mechanically could happen. I knew I could get into a whole lot of trouble though. That was the heart telling me. And then the feeling, my pulse raised. Reason why I show this is that the more you can bring into this intersection, so often with security, supposedly this pointer works and I'm not going to point in anyone's eyes, we just focus on the mind, the knowing. We're doing it because we told you to. If you can hit, and this is actually what social engineers, we showed you earlier, what the influence side does, trying to initiate feelings. It can be used for good as well. Okay, time for a quick dad joke. Where did the software developer go? He probably ran somewhere. I warned you, my goal was to get you to laugh through this. Why did I do that? Establishes human connection. Laughter opens up synapses for learning. People will relate to you a lot better. If you look at Robert Cialdini's laws of influence, it's later in the slides, you can look it up, likability. I now am more trustworthy to you because I've opened up, been vulnerable, there's all the psychology behind why telling a dad joke when I'm just like stupid dad jokes. Let's now talk about what it takes to be a good leader. So picture in your mind what a leader looks like. How do they act? What do they say? And I'm using they for the pronoun very much on purpose because, think about from this here, who is the number one leader? I'm going to give you a hint. I don't think it's this guy. Just because you're out in front does not mean you're the leader. I'll share who I think later, but I want you to picture Bruce Schneier. Anyone see the keynote? So some of you may have heard this before, but Bruce Schneier's first book, Applied Cryptography, he had this epiphany that it really is about humans. You can read his paper in 2008 about it, 2007, 2008. Having these skills, you need this technical skills, and that's what makes being in cybersecurity really the challenge. We focus on the technology, but now we're saying you need emotional intelligence, communications. So my challenge to you, figure out how you can build those skills. We all can. I'm not doing anything super special. Building the business acumen. So do you have any tips for working with the business?
So I'm a business person that was put in the technical organization
helping enable, seeing as a helper. Thank you so much for sharing that. But I appreciate your wording a battle a little bit, that tenacity, if you will, not giving up easily with it. So sometimes it is being in front of people, finding out, and it's harder with the remote, and in the old days, pre-pandemic, we just meet them with coffee. Now it's finding excuses, hey, can we talk? But this is where you can use social engineering. People love to talk about themselves. Seriously. So you find something to get them talking. Some relatable, hey, so you went through business school, I'm just rhetorical right now, where did you go to school? There's lots of different techniques just to get people to talk about themselves. Let's see, the critical thinking, you want a leader who can challenge the status quo. Be bold, but know how to do it with empathy. So let me ask you, is it better for a leader to challenge or to encourage? Do we have any attorneys in the house? What's the traditional attorney answer? It depends. It does. I work with some who challenge, some who encourage. You need that. The right attitude, availability. What I've learned with RSA, one of the best abilities is availability. They said, hey, Ron, can you do a session? I'm like, sure, why not? Seriously. Just being open for it. So how do we do this? So here again, you thought this was just going to be a normal RSA session. You're not going to have any to-dos out of it. I'm giving you a lot of things to think about. More than just the action slide at the end, but throughout. Practice some of these. One of my, I wouldn't say favorite, but a good resource for a book on presenting, life as a series of presentations. So you're, Ron, I want to get to do what you're doing, or I don't ever want to do, but we all need to practice presenting. It starts by doing one-on-one, presenting to others. You don't need to do it to a crowd of 100 to be impactful. You make a difference one person at a time. Power of observation as well. Watching who people are, what they're wearing, to be able to connect. John Maxwell, well-known security leader, guru, author, has his 30-second rule. Within 30 seconds, you find one way to compliment somebody. Authentically, really, you don't just make something up. Or a way to build rapport with someone else. Like, hey, I love your jacket, perfect color. We must have coordinated to start. He's wearing a blue jacket for those who can't see in the back. You find a little, it doesn't have to be anything big. Again, I'm going to encourage you after this session, find ways to connect with somebody else. You already started by saying hi. But through observation, you learn, what may make the person tick. You can look at their micro expressions. And if you haven't read Chris Hadnagy's books, anyone read Chris Hadnagy, Art and Science of Social Engineering, Human Hacking? It's in my slide deck. He talks about micro expressions. He worked with Kevin Ekman. The TV show Lie to Me, if you remember. You can watch people's little expressions, like if they're confused, if they're smiling, etc. When you're looking at people, remember to CYA. No, not that one. Check your assumptions. I've had it with students, I've had it with attendees. You see them sitting in the back. And for me, I'm like, you don't like me, do you? Because you're frowning. And it could be you're just confused. It could be it's just late in the day. So checking your assumptions. I once had a student, and I was teaching a cyber warfare class. Quick story. Graduate class. She would sit in the back of the room, and I was wondering if she was paying attention, twirling her hair. She would type on the computer, and, I realized there was a whole bunch of alpha males in the room, including myself. She felt very intimidated by them. And I realized she was actually probably the smartest person in the room, including me. So I just told my alpha males, let her speak, just because she's quiet. So that's also part of this point here. So check your assumptions. Okay, another dad joke just to keep things lively. It is a Tuesday afternoon. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. How does a computer get drunk? It takes screenshots. Thank you. I told you this was interactive. So let's talk about other ways to influence. I mentioned earlier How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you read this book from the 1930s, take off your white hat, put on the black hat. It's a perfect hacking book. Seriously. Empathy, listening, getting other people to speak, understanding their perspective. That's better. Understanding their perspective. How often, as we're doing cybersecurity, are we up on a stage and we wonder why no one wants to join us? Because we've put ourselves on the pedestal ahead of everybody else. It's actually from social engineering. When you're talking to someone, you point your body strategically so you're working together in the same direction. If you watch Big Bang Theory, there's a really funny episode. Penny is teaching Sheldon how to act, but how to be open. Seriously, are you going to talk to me if I'm like this or this? And for those all up front are going, what the heck are you doing, Ron? You can yell at me. Let me back up there. Are you open or shut? It just, those little psychological differences. Telling stories, making it personal. People don't relate to data. People relate to other people. So like when I showed you the Verizon data breach report, I showed you statistics, metrics. What does that really mean? Show how it's actually been done. Here's a story of a data breach. Or who here has been the victim of identity theft? We all know someone who has. Did it cost them a lot of money? Not always, but it costs a lot of heartache, a lot of time. We already talked about root cause analysis and economics. I'm sometimes ahead of myself. Here's another fun list. How am I doing on time anyway? Oh, I got plenty of time. Finding something in common. So, what do we all have in common here? Cybersecurity. Okay, more specifically. You were at RSA. Where's RSA? San Francisco. How many of you, is this your first time in San Francisco? So if you've raised your hand, you now have an opportunity to social engineer those who did not. Hi, I'm Ron. I'm new to I haven't been to San Francisco before. Where's a good place to eat, or where should I stay away from? Exactly. Someone was mouthing where to go. That helps build that rapport. The flattery. I really liked, so y'all are on LinkedIn. So if you connect with me on LinkedIn, please put a note where we met each other. I get a lot of different connection requests, and I don't always accept them all if I don't really know you, because how do I know you're really human? So, y'all are, any chat GPT in here? I'm required to say it for the bingo card, by the way. Anyone playing RSA bingo? So, I've already said zero trust. I haven't said cloud IoT yet, but give me a moment. So, wait, I just did. Yes, DevSecOps, yes. Well, we'll hit them all in this one session. Let's see, so that was a wonderful idea. So flattery, ego, build people's ego. But when you're connecting with LinkedIn, this is how I get connections on LinkedIn. I will say, hey, I really liked something. And I'm really honest about it. I'm not just BSing my way. I find something in common or something I appreciate about that person. Another could be, hey, did you hear about the party they're having tonight? And that can be quid pro quo, sharing a secret. Let me give you a secret on how we can get through audit. Don't tell the auditors. It can work. Complain. I can't believe they ran out of cookies. There were cookies? Exactly. I just built, or giving erroneous information. I hope you brought your umbrella, considering the 40% chance of rain tonight. No one's going to disagree. I will sometimes say wrong things on purpose, and sometimes not always on the wrong purpose, but I'd rather say something that's wrong and elicit the conversation, because sometimes that'll tell us what not to do. So often in cybersecurity, our job is to know what to do, but think about it. Do we know what our job is not to do? You go to that other extreme, and you can work your way to the middle. What to do versus what not to do. And sometimes when I'm brainstorming, I'll say, okay, here are our ideas. And they're like, no, we can't do that for this reason. That then elicits from the other person thoughts on how to solve the problem, which is really the goal. So that's erroneous. We already talked about naive mentality, new to San Francisco, or I don't know about, can you tell me? Can you help solve this? Trying not to be burdensome when you're doing it. Showing value, providing value to others. What about the second to the last? Makes people really nervous. You just look at them. People will begin to talk. The first one to talk loses. I lost. Or did you lose? I lose track. Try to do it as a public speaker, by the way. Silence is scary. Anyway. And then, of course, alcohol. Why they provide all of the free adult beverages through this, because it's a natural lubricant. Quick story, I developed a social engineering class for where I teach. I had the students practice social engineering. And the idea, sorry, I have to give a demonstration. Oh my gosh, I promised my daughter I was going to call her. My battery just died. I see you have your phone out, sir. David, can I borrow your phone? By the way, we know each other. And he already knows to say no to me. Anyway, check out David's session if you haven't already. That interaction, can I borrow your phone? So I had the students do that, and about 50% of the students were successful in getting someone else's phone. And all they had to do was call me at my office, leave a voicemail. Some students would chicken out, ethics and all of that. And it's like, of course, do no harm, seriously, don't be a threat. The objective was not to steal anyone's phone or information, just to go through the exercise to see it's really not that hard when you create a scenario. I had a student outside of a military base. He was military. He decided to try it at a local drinking establishment, bought a fellow military person alcohol drinks, and got that person to disclose a lot of potential military operations. Fortunately, my student was one of the good guys, and my voice is cracking on purpose because it was like, he's like, oh my gosh, this is dangerous stuff. I'm like, yes, it is. So, with great power comes great responsibility. Thank you for playing along. Oh, so many others. Oh, we need another dad joke. So I use these as icebreakers, by the way, whether you like this person or not. He actually posted this on his site. We call it karaoke because it's in a car. I hope Elon Musk never gets involved in a scandal. Elongate would be really drawn out. So often, so you saw my slide earlier, Our job, yeah, we go around and we just say, you suck, you suck, you suck. I'm going to challenge that. Using from the 1 Minute Manager, first of all, what is working well? It can be hard, but invariably every organization has something they can be complimented on. Find out what works, and then you build upon that, on something where they could use some improvement. You're building upon a success. Rather than going from 0 to 60, now you're going from 30 to 60, where if you study mechanics, it's a lot easier, right? It takes a lot less effort, a lot less cost associated with it. Doing it all within 1 minute. And then what are our goals? What is the roadmap we want to take? Keeping it short and simple is so important. Again, complications, complexity is a danger for us. Anyone here a Toastmaster or familiar with Toastmasters? So a few, if you did not raise your hand, toastmasters.org. It is nonprofit. I've been a member, and develops your communications and leadership confidence. For every speech we give, so if you're Toastmasters, you can rate me, by the way. I'm still an active Toastmasters. This counts as some type of a project for Toastmasters. Everything we do gets evaluated. Why is this important? You learn what you did well, what you could work on. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give myself maybe an A- for this talk today. There's things I could always do better. I'm a work in progress. We all are. So as you're filling out the feedback form, give your honest feedback, because I use it to improve myself. The program committee uses it to see how they can improve the conference. It really is what helps make RSA unique. We do have a very, very robust program committee. But we use a 2-for-1 rule. So for every 2 things that need improvement, or for every 1 thing that needs improvement, opposite, 2 things that they've done well. And if you study social engineering and elicitation, you want to use an hourglass. What's working well, where they need improvement, and then a compliment at the end. The sandwich approach, exactly. Try it. Try it with others. How to encourage. It makes it a lot easier to receive. We can do it in cybersecurity. Being careful of this yes, but, or seems like a compliment, but it's not type of idea. Yes, you were wonderful, but, invariably you have the but coming along. Try to be and instead. Too many. This comes back to the challenge versus encouraging. Understand the person. Some people, they really just need ego stroking, and that will keep them purring. Others, you need to let them know where they can stand for improvement. Politics. So I'm just going to throw all of these up at the screen. Anyone here not deal with politics? Okay. I mean, in the organization, I'm not talking about U.S. legal systems or anything. Having those crucial conversations, being willing to have the conversation, calling out the elephant in the room, but in a nice way. It can be hard. You can do that in numerous ways. First of all, it takes that observation, studying, finding out who really are the leaders in the room. It may not be that person standing up front. It may be the lady standing in the back who's ready for action, who is quietly influencing the group. And it could be the person sitting in the middle, not always the one sitting up front. If you have multiple decision makers asking, can you live with this? Why can't you live with it? For what reasons? Already mentioned that. Let's see. Yeah, building consensus. I'm actually going to cover this in a little more detail during my learning lab on Thursday, where we'll actually go through different scenarios with office politics. But it could be a decentralized IT, where you have a group that is autonomous or that has built their own shadow IT. Anyone have a problem with shadow IT here? Yeah. You can't just say turn it off, because you may mean turn off the business, creating a denial of service. Can we segregate that? Can we use, and this is all seriousness, some zero trust concepts of microsegmentation to separate the potential risks? I mentioned this book earlier, highly recommended. It's probably the most referenced cybersecurity book that has nothing to do with technology. I've been hearing talks about this for well over 10, 15 years. So if you're not familiar with it, reciprocation, so you see all of these on the sales floor. You know, if I give you a t-shirt, will you give me your identity by letting me scan your badge? That's reciprocation. Commitment, can I get you to agree? Then you're going to be consistent with that behavior. Authority, why do I have a suit coat on? Authority. If I was in shorts and a t-shirt, you would view me differently. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It depends on the audience. RSA is more of a business audience, and I've learned it's better to show that up here. Social validation. You know, everyone else is giving me a 5. Just kidding. 4 out of 5 dentists will recommend RSA conference. Scarcity. We only have 6 minutes left, so if you have a question, be ready to jump up to the microphone now. Actually, that's true. And then likability, why I gave the jokes. Last tip, understanding who owns the headache. What do I mean? Who owns the risk? Who will be kept up all night? Who is the one who's going to be really the one responsible and accountable for the challenge? Ask. And then what level of headache? Is it like a 1 aspirin or is it a migraine? When you determine who owns the headache, then you can make it personal and then use social engineering to be able to understand why it's a headache. How you can help it from being a headache. Other really good resources, you notice not a lot of these cybersecurity. Got it? Thank you. So Good to Great, mention this. Now it's your turn. So I've been giving you applications throughout. First one, y'all got a pad and paper, right? Seriously, write down something, and it could be you've learned or rediscovered. I really didn't say a whole lot that is really brand new, but it could be ideas that you haven't thought of in a while that you can try. You can start, stop, or continue. I already mentioned, meet someone new. This actually came from the keynote yesterday, where they said connect with at least 5 people. Using the 1-minute security manager idea of what's working well, what needs improvement, 1-minute goal setting. Keep doing this. Using Stronger Together. Y'all can be human hackers, social engineers for the positive. My idea is I'm trying to work myself out of a job, knowing I never will. I hope you are too. At this point, I'm here for your questions. What questions do you have? What tips do you have? What has worked for you? No questions? Remember my slide early on about fear. Why do you want to ask a question? Well, seriously, this happened to my daughter. She had a question in high school. And I'm like, did you ask your teacher? No, I didn't want to appear stupid. Kat, you were born with my big mouth. If you have a question, probably someone else does too. Fair enough. I know it's only day 2 and it feels like it's day 5 already for the conference. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I'm invariably, as soon as I stop, I'll have like 6 people come up with me and ask fantastic questions. So here's where I'm going to end encouraging you. At this point, get up, keep meeting new people, practice these skills. This is a safe environment where you can learn from each other and really be stronger together. I'm Ron Werner. Enjoy the rest of RSA. I look forward to seeing you soon.